Have you ever felt that someone dislikes you, but they never say it out loud? Have you noticed subtle behaviors, small, seemingly insignificant actions, that make you question their true feelings? Here's the uncomfortable truth: hatred isn't always loud. Sometimes, it's silent. Sometimes, it hides beneath politeness, under carefully masked words, and within consistent patterns of behavior. Carl Jung, one of the most influential figures in analytical psychology, believed that we project our inner wounds onto others. People who secretly despise you may not even be aware of their own emotions. Instead of confronting their feelings, they express them through subtle passive aggression, exclusion, or indifference. So, why does this matter? Because when someone dislikes you but doesn't say it outright, it can create self-doubt, confusion, and emotional distress. You may find yourself questioning. Am I overthinking this? Maybe they're just having a bad day. Did I do something wrong? But what if it's not about you at all? What if their actions are a reflection of their own unresolved issues? This video will help you decode the psychological signs of hidden hatred, not to create paranoia, but to give you the clarity and empowerment to recognize when someone's actions are signaling deep-seated resentment. Because understanding these signs is not just about identifying negativity, it's about protecting your emotional well-being. So, let's begin. Common misconceptions about hatred: why it's not always obvious. When we think about hatred, we often picture explosive arguments, open hostility, or aggressive confrontations. But here's the truth: hate doesn't always reveal itself in obvious ways. Some of the people who dislike you the most will never actually say it. Why? Because not all hatred is expressed through direct conflict. In many cases, people suppress their resentment due to fear of confrontation. They don't want to create drama or deal with the consequences of expressing their true feelings. Social pressure: in a workplace, a friendship circle, or even a family setting, people may feel obligated to maintain civility even if they dislike someone. Subconscious projection: as Carl Jung's theory suggests, sometimes people project their own inner insecurities onto others. They dislike you not because of who you are, but because you trigger something in them: jealousy, inadequacy, or unresolved personal issues. Let's look at a real-life example. Imagine you work in an office, and there's a colleague who always acts polite but strangely distant. They never openly criticize you, but they frequently ignore your contributions, avoid direct eye contact, and subtly exclude you from discussions. You wonder, did I do something wrong? But the truth is, their behavior isn't about you, it's about their own unresolved feelings. This is where people get confused. They assume that if someone isn't openly mean, then they must not dislike them. But hidden hatred is far more dangerous than open conflict, because it manifests through small, repeated actions that make you feel excluded, undervalued, or uneasy. So, if you've ever felt that someone secretly resents you but won't say it out loud, you're not imagining things. In this video, we're going to decode the hidden behaviors that reveal when someone truly dislikes you. Now, let's uncover the psychological signs of covert hatred. That nice hater: when a smile hides resentment. Not all haters are obvious. Some of them smile at you, congratulate you, and even act like your friend, but beneath the surface, they harbor hidden resentment. This is what we call the nice hater: someone who appears supportive in public but works against you in the shadows. Have you ever known someone who compliments you, but their words feel forced? Acts friendly, but you later hear they spoke negatively about you behind your back. Shows up for celebrations, yet somehow always manages to downplay your success. At first, you might dismiss these moments as paranoia. Maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe they didn't mean it that way. But Carl Jung's theory of projection tells us that people often reflect their own insecurities onto others. Instead of facing their own shortcomings, they mask their resentment with fake kindness, because admitting jealousy or hatred openly would damage their own self-image. How to recognize a nice hater. Backhanded compliments: wow, you got promoted. That's surprising. Subtle undermining, they frame criticism as helpful advice, but it's really designed to make you doubt yourself. Fake support, they seem happy for you in person but secretly spread negativity behind your back. Real life example. Let's take the case of Lisa and Sarah. Lisa thought Sarah was a supportive friend. Sarah always smiled, gave encouragement, and attended Lisa's celebrations. But over time, Lisa started noticing odd things. Mutual friends would mention negative comments Sarah had made about her. One day, Lisa overheard Sarah telling someone, "Yeah, she got the job, but let's be honest, she was just lucky." It was then that she realized, Sarah wasn't a real friend, she was a nice hater. How to deal with a nice hater? Trust your intuition. If their words don't match their energy, pay attention. Observe patterns, not just moments. A single passive-aggressive comment may not mean much, but consistent negativity disguised as support is a red flag. Keep your distance. You don't have to confront them, but you should protect your emotional space. In the end, genuine relationships don't require decoding. Real supporters celebrate your wins without hidden resentment. So ask yourself, do you have a nice hater in your life? Leave a comment below if you've ever experienced this. Let's discuss how to recognize and rise above fake friendships. Toxic versus honest dislike, the hidden danger of pretending. Not everyone in life will like you, and that's okay. Disliking someone isn't inherently toxic. There are people with whom we simply don't connect. We might disagree with their values, their behavior, or simply find that our personalities don't match. That's normal. An honest dislike, when handled with maturity, isn't harmful. But toxic individuals, they don't handle their dislike honestly. Instead of admitting their feelings or maintaining respectful boundaries, they pretend to like you while secretly working against you. Have you ever encountered someone who smiles and acts friendly to your face but spreads negativity about you behind your back? Gives you compliments that feel fake or overly exaggerated? Subtly undermines your confidence while pretending to be supportive? This is the difference between honest dislike and toxic pretense. 1. Honest dislike is transparent and respectful. Someone who honestly dislikes you won't pretend. They'll be civil, but they won't act fake. They set clear boundaries instead of manipulating situations. They don't waste energy on undermining you, they simply keep their distance. 2. Toxic dislike is manipulative and hidden. Toxic people will pretend to be kind while subtly sabotaging you. They maintain an illusion of friendship while working behind the scenes to make you fail. Their words and actions never fully align, what they say doesn't match what they do. A real-life example. Let's consider James and Mark. James and Mark were colleagues. James wasn't particularly fond of Mark, but he remained professional. He didn't gossip about him or act fake, he simply kept interactions respectful but minimal. This is honest dislike, it doesn't cause harm. But another colleague, Ryan, was different. Ryan pretended to be Mark's friend, but he often spread false rumors, subtly excluded Mark from important meetings, and smiled while taking credit for his work. This is toxic dislike. It hides behind politeness but is fueled by resentment and deception. How to recognize and protect yourself. Watch for inconsistencies. Do their actions match their words? Pay attention to energy shifts. Does their kindness feel forced or conditional? Distance yourself. You don't need to confront them, but you do need to protect your emotional space. Carl Jung's shadow theory suggests that those who pretend to be kind while secretly resenting you are often battling their own unacknowledged insecurities. At the end of the day, you don't need everyone to like you, but you do need to recognize who is genuine and who is not. Have you ever experienced toxic pretense? Drop a comment below and let's discuss how to deal with these situations. Hate is not always obvious. Sometimes, it's hidden behind politeness, disguised as indifference, or expressed through small, repeated actions rather than words. If a man secretly hates you, he won't always tell you directly. Instead, his resentment will show through subtle psychological behaviors, things you might overlook at first but, when seen as a pattern, reveal the truth. In this section, we will break down 12 undeniable psychological signs that someone secretly resents you. By the end of this, you will no longer second-guess your intuition, you will have the clarity to see the truth. Sign number 1, consistently late or cancels plans. Time is one of the most valuable things we have, and how someone treats your time reveals how much they respect you. A person who secretly dislikes you won't always show it through harsh words or direct conflict. Instead, they show it through subtle patterns of disrespect, like being consistently late, canceling plans last minute, or making excuses whenever it comes to meeting you. Now, let's be clear, occasionally being late or canceling a plan doesn't mean someone hates you. Life happens. People get busy. But if you notice that this happens repeatedly, and only with you, while they seem perfectly available for others, then it's not about being busy, it's about avoidance. Real-life example, the friend who always cancels. Imagine this, you make plans with a friend. They agree enthusiastically, yes. Let's do it. But when the day comes, they cancel. Maybe they say, sorry, something came up. I'm just too tired today. Work has been crazy, let's reschedule. But then, a few days later, you see them happily hanging out with someone else, making time for others while always avoiding you. At first, you might give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they really were busy. But when this pattern repeats over and over again, the truth becomes clear, they are choosing not to prioritize you. The psychological explanation. Carl Jung believed that our actions reveal our subconscious truths. Even if someone never directly says, I don't like you, their repeated behaviors expose their true emotions. Consistently canceling or always showing up late means you are not a priority in their life. They don't respect your time the way they do with others. They may secretly resent you but lack the courage to express it outright. How to respond? Recognize the pattern, pay attention to whether they do this only to you or if it's just how they are with everyone. Stop chasing, if someone continually makes excuses, stop making an effort. A true friend or someone who respects you will value your time. Redirect your energy, spend time with people who show up for you, who respect your presence, and who appreciate your effort. Final thought. Time is a reflection of where we place value. If someone constantly wastes yours, believe their actions, not their words. Have you ever experienced this? Drop a comment below and share your thoughts. Sign number 2, sarcastic and passive-aggressive jokes. Laughter is meant to bring people together, but not all jokes are innocent. Have you ever had someone say something insulting, only to immediately follow it up with, relax, I was just joking. Wow, you're so sensitive. You can't even take a joke. These aren't jokes. They are weapons disguised as humor, a way for someone to belittle you while avoiding accountability. Carl Jung believed that humor often acts as a socially acceptable outlet for hidden resentment. Instead of expressing dislike openly, a person masks their hostility in sarcasm, knowing that if you react, they can blame you for not being able to take a joke. Real-life example, the friend who jokes too much. Imagine you're out with a group of friends. You share an accomplishment, maybe you got a new job or received a promotion. Instead of celebrating, someone smirks and says, wow, they must have been really desperate to hire you. Guess it's all about luck, huh? Look at you, acting like a big deal now. At first, you might laugh along. But deep down, something feels off. This is the power of passive-aggressive humor, it's meant to humiliate while keeping plausible deniability. If you confront them, they dismiss it. You're too sensitive. It's just friendly teasing. I didn't mean it that way. But over time, these small comments chip away at your confidence and self-worth. The psychological explanation. When someone repeatedly uses sarcasm or jokes to mock you, they may be revealing jealousy, they feel inferior but can't express it directly. Resentment, they dislike you but want to appear friendly. Hidden aggression, they lack the courage for open confrontation. How to respond? Trust your instincts. If it doesn't feel like a joke, it probably isn't. Call it out calmly, say, "You seem to joke about me a lot. Is there something you actually want to say?" Limit your exposure. If someone constantly undermines you, you don't have to keep them in your circle. Final thought. Genuine humor strengthens relationships. Passive-aggressive sarcasm is a tool of emotional manipulation. If someone repeatedly makes you feel small, believe their behavior, not their excuses. Have you ever experienced this? Let's talk about it in the comments. Sign number 3, ignores you in conversations. Communication is the foundation of any meaningful relationship. But what happens when someone consistently ignores you during conversations? You're talking, and they keep looking at their phone. Avoid eye contact. Pretend not to hear you or don't respond. This isn't just bad manners, it's a psychological signal of disregard. The silent message, you don't matter. When a person genuinely values your presence, they engage with you. They listen, they respond, and they show interest. But if someone frequently ignores you, dismisses your words, or seems distracted only when you speak, it's a clear nonverbal rejection. They may not say it outright, but their actions reveal their lack of respect and emotional investment in your presence. Carl Jung's perspective, social energy and projection. According to Jungian psychology, people unconsciously project their feelings through behavior. When someone repeatedly disengages in conversations, they are demonstrating low social investment, they don't see your presence as important. Hidden resentment, they may dislike you but don't express it openly. Psychological distancing, their actions create emotional separation without confrontation. Real-life example, the friend who's never present. Imagine this, you're at lunch with a friend. Every time you start talking about something important, they glance at their phone. They nod absent-mindedly but never truly engage. Then, the moment someone else starts speaking, they light up, make eye contact, and fully engage. Over time, you begin to notice, this pattern only happens when you talk. This is not a coincidence. It's a subtle way of signaling that your presence isn't valued. How to respond? Observe the pattern, is it just occasional distraction, or do they ignore you consistently? Test their engagement, pause mid-sentence and see if they even notice. If they don't, it's a clear sign of disregard. Redirect your energy, instead of seeking validation, invest in relationships where you feel heard and valued. Final thought. Attention is a form of respect. If someone constantly ignores you, they are telling you, without words, that you don't matter to them. Have you ever felt invisible in a conversation? Let's discuss it in the comments. Sign number 4, backhanded compliments. Not all compliments are genuine. Sometimes, a compliment is a disguised insult, designed to make you doubt yourself rather than lift you up. These are called backhanded compliments, and they follow a specific pattern. They sound positive at first, but when you think about them, they feel insulting. They create subtle self-doubt, making you question whether you should feel happy or offended. They are used as a power move to keep you feeling not quite good enough. The hidden insult in a compliment. Have you ever heard things like, "Wow, you actually look good today," implying you usually don't. "You're smarter than I thought," suggesting they assumed you were not intelligent. "That's a nice outfit. Very different from what you usually wear." Subtly criticizing your usual style. At first, you might smile and accept the compliment, but deep inside, something feels off. That's because the true purpose of a backhanded compliment isn't to praise you, it's to assert dominance. Carl Jung's perspective, psychological manipulation. Jungian psychology teaches us that people often project their insecurities onto others. A person who uses backhanded compliments is often insecure, they need to put others down to feel superior. Resentful, they dislike you but want to appear friendly. Seeking control, they keep you feeling uncertain, so you subconsciously seek their approval. Real-life example, the friend who never gives a pure compliment. Imagine this, you just got a promotion. You're excited and share the news with a friend. Instead of a simple, "Congratulations," they say, "Wow, really? Guess they must have had limited options. That's great. Who knew you'd actually make it this far? Let's celebrate. I never thought I'd see the day." Each of these sounds like praise, but in reality, they plant a seed of doubt and insecurity. How to respond? Call it out playfully, respond with, "That sounded like a compliment, but was it really?" Don't give them the reaction they want. Instead of feeling offended, just smile and say, "Thank you," without feeding into their energy. Recognize the pattern. If someone constantly gives these types of comments, they are not your supporter. Final thought. True compliments uplift. Backhanded compliments are a form of psychological manipulation. Pay attention to the energy behind the words, not just the words themselves. Have you ever received a backhanded compliment? Share your experience in the comments. Sign number 5, deliberately excludes you. Few things feel worse than being deliberately left out. Whether it's in social circles, work meetings, or group conversations, exclusion is not always an accident. Sometimes, it's an intentional act of psychological distancing. At first, you might think, maybe they just forgot. But when it keeps happening, the truth becomes clear. They don't value your presence. The silent form of rejection. Being deliberately excluded is a nonverbal way of saying, "You don't belong here. You're not important to us. We don't respect your presence." Unlike direct confrontation, this method of exclusion is subtle yet deeply damaging because it makes you question yourself. Did I do something wrong? Why wasn't I invited? Am I imagining things? Jungian psychology, social rejection and the shadow self. According to Carl Jung, humans have an inherent need for belonging. When someone deliberately excludes you, they are tapping into one of the deepest fears of the human psyche, social rejection. This type of behavior is often seen in workplace environments, where coworkers accidentally forget to invite someone to meetings. Friend groups, where certain people get invited to gatherings while others are conveniently left out. Family dynamics, where one member is subtly ignored or treated as an outsider. Real-life example, the office accident. Imagine you're part of a team at work. There's a big project meeting. Everyone in your department gets invited, except you. When you ask about it, you hear excuses like, "Oh, it must have been a mistake. We thought you were busy. We didn't think you needed to be there." But then, this happens again and again. Eventually, you realize, it wasn't an accident. They didn't forget you. They chose to exclude you. How to respond? Look for patterns. If this happens once, it could be a mistake. If it happens repeatedly, it's intentional. Address it directly. Ask, "I noticed I wasn't included. Was that intentional?" Stop seeking approval. If a group keeps excluding you, stop trying to fit in. You deserve to be where you're valued. Final thought. Exclusion is a silent form of rejection. If people repeatedly leave you out, it's not about forgetting, it's about how they see you. Have you ever experienced this? Let's talk about it in the comments. Sign number 6, subtle competitiveness and undermining your success. Success should be something to celebrate. But not everyone will be happy for you. Some people view your success as a threat to their ego. Instead of showing genuine support, they downplay your achievements. Try to one-up you in every conversation. Find ways to subtly belittle your progress. At first, you might think, maybe they don't mean it that way. But over time, the pattern becomes undeniable. The hidden message: you're not better than me. A real friend or supportive colleague will acknowledge your success without needing to compare it to their own. But a jealous person will always find a way to minimize your wins. Oh, that's nice, but it's not that big of a deal. One up your achievements: you got promoted. I got 2 promotions last year. Suggest you got lucky: you probably just had good timing. Instead of being happy for you, they feel the need to shift the spotlight back to themselves. Jungian psychology: the shadow of insecurity. Carl Jung's theory of the shadow self explains that people often project their own insecurities onto others. When someone feels inadequate, they may try to compete with you unnecessarily because your success reminds them of their failures. Minimize your progress to make themselves feel superior. Sabotage your confidence so they can feel in control. Real-life example: the jealous friend. Imagine you just started a business. You're excited and share the news with a friend. Instead of celebrating, they respond with, "That's great. But you know, most businesses fail within the first year. I thought about starting a business too, but I have too many big projects going on. I hope you can handle it. Running a business is much harder than it looks." They didn't outright insult you, but their words planted doubt instead of encouragement. How to respond? Recognize the pattern: if someone always reacts this way, it's not accidental, it's insecurity disguised as competitiveness. Don't seek validation: you don't need their approval. Your success speaks for itself. Distance yourself from toxic competition. Healthy friendships and professional relationships aren't built on jealousy. Final thought. Real supporters don't compete, they celebrate. If someone constantly tries to one-up you, minimize your success, or make you feel small, believe their actions, not their words. Have you ever dealt with someone like this? Let's talk about it in the comments. Sign number 7, negative body language around you. Words can lie, but the body never does. Even when someone tries to mask their true feelings, their subconscious body language will reveal what their conscious mind is trying to hide. If someone secretly dislikes you, their physical presence will reflect that through nonverbal cues, such as crossed arms, a defensive posture signaling emotional distance. A turned body: instead of facing you directly, they subtly turn away. Minimal engagement: they give short, disinterested responses and avoid meaningful interaction. At first, these behaviors may seem insignificant, but when they become a pattern, they reveal hidden resentment. The unspoken truth behind body language. A person who values your presence will face you directly. Maintain open and relaxed posture. Engage with enthusiasm and attention. In contrast, someone who harbors negativity toward you will unconsciously create barriers between you, folding arms, holding objects as a shield. Physically distance themselves, leaning away, avoiding close proximity. Avoid genuine connection, lack of eye contact, disengaged facial expressions. They may never say, "I don't like you," but their body already has. Jungian psychology: the subconscious reveals the truth. Carl Jung emphasized that the subconscious mind constantly leaks information through uncontrolled microexpressions and gestures. A person's true emotions will always manifest in their body language, no matter how much they try to conceal them. Real-life example: the disinterested colleague. Imagine you're speaking with a coworker. Every time you talk, they keep their arms crossed and don't make eye contact. Give half-hearted nods or vague responses like, "Yeah, sure." Turn slightly away from you, as if signaling disinterest. But when someone else enters the conversation, their body suddenly opens up, they make eye contact, smile, and lean in with full attention. The message is clear: their body language changed based on who they were speaking to. How to respond? Observe the pattern: if their body language is only negative around you, it's a sign of hidden dislike. Mirror their behavior, match their low engagement and see if they notice. Often, people adjust unconsciously when they sense a change. Redirect your energy, instead of seeking approval, invest in relationships where your presence is welcomed. Final thought. Words may be manipulated, but body language is the purest form of truth. If someone consistently exhibits negative body language around you, don't ignore it. Their subconscious is already telling you how they feel. Have you ever noticed these signs? Let's discuss in the comments. Sign number 8, uses your past against you. Everyone makes mistakes. Growth comes from learning, evolving, and moving forward. But what happens when someone refuses to let you move on? Some people weaponize your past, not because they care about the truth, but because they want to. Keep you emotionally trapped. Lower your confidence. Control the narrative of who you are. The hidden agenda, keeping you small. A person who genuinely respects you will acknowledge your growth. But a toxic individual will constantly remind you of your past mistakes, especially at moments when you are feeling confident. You are trying to grow. You are finally breaking free from an old identity. Instead of celebrating your progress, they say things like, "Remember when you messed up that project? You always do that. Oh, so now you think you're successful? Didn't you fail last time?" People don't change. You'll always be the same deep down. This isn't about honesty, it's about power. Jungian psychology, the shadow and emotional control. Carl Jung described the shadow self, the parts of ourselves we struggle to accept. When someone uses your past against you, it's often because they can't accept their own mistakes, so they focus on yours. They fear your growth, because if you evolve, they lose control. They need to feel superior, so they keep you in an emotional prison. Real-life example, the friend who won't let you change. Imagine this, you've been working on yourself. You've improved, become stronger, more confident. Then, an old friend says, "Oh please, you're not actually different. I remember how you used to be. You can pretend, but we all know the real you. You think people forgot? I didn't." Every time you take a step forward, they pull you back with words designed to make you doubt yourself. How to respond? Recognize the pattern. If someone always brings up your past, it's not accidental, it's manipulation. Set boundaries, say, "I've moved on from that. I hope you can too." Don't let them define you, you are not your past. You are who you choose to become. Final thought. Your past is a chapter, not your entire story. If someone refuses to let you grow, they are afraid of your potential. Have you experienced this? Let's talk in the comments. Sign number 9, only contacts you when they need something. A true relationship, whether it's friendship, family, or work, should be built on mutual respect, care, and emotional investment. But what happens when someone only reaches out when they need something from you? Their messages always have a hidden agenda. They need a favor. They want advice. They're looking for a connection or resource. And once they get what they want, they disappear. The one-way relationship, transactional, not emotional. A person who truly values you will check in on you even when they don't need anything. But someone who secretly doesn't care about you will only reach out when it benefits them. Common signs include: they never ask how you're doing, only what you can do for them. They suddenly appear when they need money, advice, or help, but vanish right after. You realize that all your conversations are about their needs, not about the relationship itself. Over time, you start feeling like an ATM for favors instead of a real connection. Jungian psychology, the manipulative persona. Carl Jung talked about the persona, the mask people wear to function in society. Some people craft a charming, friendly persona, but underneath, they lack true emotional depth. These people see relationships not as bonds, but as transactions. They give just enough warmth to keep you around. They disappear once they've taken what they need. They return only when they need something again. Real-life example, the friend who only calls when they need help. Imagine this, you haven't heard from a certain friend in months. Then suddenly, they text. "Hey. Long time no see. Hope you're doing well. By the way, can you help me with something?" Or maybe a colleague only contacts you when they need your expertise, but never acknowledges your help afterward. At first, you might dismiss it as coincidence. But if every interaction follows this pattern, it's not accidental, it's calculated. How to respond? Notice the pattern. If someone only reaches out when they need something, acknowledge it for what it is. Test their investment. The next time they ask for a favor, respond with, "Sure. But first, how have you been?" If they ignore the personal connection, you have your answer. Set boundaries. You are not obligated to be a resource for people who don't reciprocate genuine care. Final thought. A real relationship is built on mutual investment, not just convenience. If someone only contacts you when they need something, they don't value you, they value what you can do for them. Have you experienced this? Let's discuss it in the comments. Sign number 10, talks negatively about you to others. One of the clearest signs that someone secretly dislikes you is when they attack your reputation behind your back instead of confronting you directly. This is a form of indirect aggression. They don't express their dislike openly but instead spread rumors about you. Make subtle, damaging comments when you're not around. Twist your words or actions to make you look bad. The hidden intent, destroying your reputation. When someone genuinely has an issue with you, they will address it directly. But if they constantly talk negatively about you to others, their real goal is to turn people against you. Control the narrative about who you are. Damage your self-confidence by isolating you. This is especially common in workplaces, where people gossip to undermine a colleague's reputation. Friend groups, where subtle jabs and stories create division. Family settings, where one person tries to turn others against you. Jungian psychology, projection and the fear of confrontation. Carl Jung's concept of projection explains why some people feel the need to gossip. They fear direct confrontation, so they manipulate others instead. Project their insecurities onto you, making you the villain in their narrative. Seek validation. They want others to support their dislike for you. Real-life example, the friend who smiles but gossips. Imagine this. Someone in your friend group always acts polite to your face. But you start noticing others treat you differently after speaking to them. You hear secondhand that they've been spreading misinformation about you. When confronted, they deny everything and act innocent. At first, you might give them the benefit of the doubt. But over time, you realize, this isn't an accident. How to respond? Look for patterns. If you constantly hear negative things said about you from one person, it's intentional. Call it out calmly. Ask, "I've heard some things being said about me. Is there something we need to discuss?" Distance yourself from toxic people. A person who talks negatively about you is not a real friend, colleague, or ally. Final thought. A person who truly respects you will address concerns directly, not spread negativity behind your back. If someone repeatedly tries to damage your reputation, believe their actions, not their words. Have you ever experienced this? Let's discuss it in the comments. Sign number 11, overly critiques you disguised as concern. Criticism can be constructive, but what happens when someone constantly points out your flaws under the disguise of helping you? Instead of genuinely supporting you, they highlight your weaknesses unnecessarily. Offer advice you never asked for. Make you feel inadequate rather than encouraged. At first, you might think, maybe they just want the best for me. But over time, their words start to break your confidence rather than build it. Fake concern, hidden criticism in disguise. A person who truly cares about you will give balanced feedback. They will acknowledge both your strengths and areas for improvement. Offer support alongside their critique. Encourage your growth rather than make you feel incapable. But someone who secretly dislikes you will use concern as a way to control and diminish you. They often say things like, "I'm just saying this because I care, but you're really not as talented as you think. I just don't want you to embarrass yourself, but are you sure you can handle this? I mean this in the nicest way, but you really need to change the way you do things." Instead of genuine guidance, their words plant insecurity. Jungian psychology, projection and power play. Carl Jung's theory of projection explains that people externalize their own insecurities onto others. When someone constantly critiques you, it often means they feel inadequate themselves. They want to keep you second-guessing yourself. They fear your growth because it threatens their own sense of superiority. Real-life example, the supportive underminer. Imagine you're starting a new business, and instead of encouragement, a friend says, "That's nice, but do you even know what you're doing? I just don't want to see you fail, you should be more realistic. You're really brave for trying this, but I don't think it'll work." They mask their negativity as concern, making you doubt yourself instead of feeling empowered. How to respond. Differentiate genuine feedback versus toxic criticism. Constructive criticism helps you grow. Fake concern makes you shrink. Call it out calmly, say, "I appreciate your concern, but do you actually believe in me?" Trust yourself over their doubts, your progress matters more than their fears. Final thought. Real support uplifts. Fake concern manipulates. If someone constantly critiques you under the disguise of caring, trust their pattern, not their words. Have you experienced this? Let's talk in the comments. Sign number 12, makes you doubt yourself, gaslighting techniques. One of the most dangerous ways someone can secretly hate you is by manipulating you into questioning your own reality. This psychological tactic, known as gaslighting, is designed to make you doubt your memory, perception, or judgment. Shift blame onto you even when they are at fault. Control you by making you feel unstable or confused. At first, you might think, maybe I really did misunderstand. But over time, you start second-guessing everything, even your own sanity. How gaslighting works. Someone who gaslights you will deny things they clearly said or did. Make you feel overly sensitive for reacting to their behavior. Twist the facts so you feel like the problem is you. Common gaslighting phrases include, "That never happened." "You're imagining things." "You're too emotional." "You always overreact." "I never said that." "You must be confused." This technique makes you dependent on their version of reality, which gives them control over you. Jungian psychology, manipulation and the shadow self. Carl Jung's concept of the shadow self explains that people who use gaslighting fear their own lack of control, so they control others. Project their guilt onto you, making you feel responsible for their actions. Use emotional confusion as a weapon, keeping you in a cycle of doubt. Real-life example, the master manipulator. Imagine you confront someone about their toxic behavior. Instead of acknowledging it, they say, "You always twist things. I think you're the problem here. Why do you keep bringing up the past? Just let it go. I don't know why you're acting like this, but it's really disappointing." Eventually, you start wondering if you're the one at fault, even when you know the truth. How to respond. Recognize the pattern. If someone always makes you doubt yourself, it's manipulation, not miscommunication. Write things down. Keeping records of conversations can help you trust your own memory. Trust your own reality. If you feel confused only around a certain person, they are likely gaslighting you. Final thought. Gaslighting is emotional abuse. If someone constantly makes you question yourself, they are not protecting you, they are controlling you. Have you experienced this? Let's talk in the comments. How to protect yourself from hidden hatred. Hatred isn't always loud. It can be disguised as subtle negativity, manipulation, or passive aggression. But the worst damage happens when we fail to recognize it. So how do you protect yourself? By recognizing patterns, not making excuses. By setting boundaries without unnecessary confrontation. By focusing on your self-worth, not their approval. Let's break this down. Recognizing patterns, not excuses. One of the most common mistakes people make when dealing with hidden hatred is excusing toxic behavior. Maybe they didn't mean it. Maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe they're just having a bad day. But Carl Jung's work in analytical psychology teaches us something critical: the unconscious speaks through patterns. One-time bad behavior is a mistake. Chronic toxicity is a sign. How to recognize a pattern. Frequency: do they consistently belittle you, exclude you, or manipulate you? Context: do they only act this way towards you, or is it a general behavior? Intent: is their behavior meant to lift you up or keep you down? The moment you stop making excuses for their behavior, you reclaim your power. Setting strong boundaries without confrontation. A lot of people struggle with boundaries because they think it requires a dramatic confrontation. But real boundaries are not about fighting back, they're about protecting your energy. 3 simple ways to set boundaries calmly. 1. The gray rock method. When someone tries to provoke you, don't engage emotionally. Respond in a neutral, unemotional way. Toxic people feed on reactions. If you don't give them one, they lose control. Example. Them: wow, you always mess things up. You: interesting perspective. Then walk away. 2. The redirect strategy. If they gossip about you, change the subject. If they criticize you, redirect the conversation. Example. Them: I heard people talking about you. You: I'm more interested in what's next for my life. What's your next goal? 3. The soft no technique. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your choices. Say no without guilt, without debate. Example. Them: can you do this favor for me? You: I won't be able to, but I hope it works out for you. Setting boundaries isn't about changing them, it's about changing how much access they have to you. Focus on your self-worth, not their approval. At the core of hidden hatred is control. People want to manipulate how you see yourself. But as Carl Jung taught in Individuation, self-growth is about breaking free from external validation. You don't need their approval. You don't need to prove yourself. You don't need to fix their perception of you. 3 ways to strengthen your self-worth. Define your own value. Ask yourself, who am I, beyond what others think? Your worth doesn't change based on someone's opinion or jealousy. Surround yourself with people who uplift you. Instead of focusing on those who dislike you, invest in those who appreciate you. Shift your attention. Conclusion: choose self-respect over toxicity. You've just learned how to spot the subtle patterns of hidden hatred, but now comes the most important part. What will you do with this knowledge? Because the truth is, hatred is not always loud. Sometimes, it's the quiet patterns that tell you everything. You cannot control others, but you can control who has access to you. One of the greatest lessons in psychology, taught by Carl Jung and other great minds, is this. You are not responsible for fixing or understanding toxic people. You cannot change someone's hidden resentment. Convince someone to treat you with kindness. Force someone to see your true worth. But what you can do is recognize who drains your energy and who uplifts you. Decide who gets access to your time and attention. Walk away from people who thrive on manipulation and negativity. Because at the end of the day, your peace is more important than their approval. Self-respect is a silent but powerful force. Many people stay in toxic relationships, friendships, family ties, or work environments, because they are afraid of what will happen if they leave. But what if I lose everyone? What if they turn others against me? What if I'm just overreacting? But the reality is, the right people won't leave you just because you set boundaries. Only manipulative people fear your independence. And self-respect is worth more than fake relationships. So, choose yourself. Choose relationships that empower, not diminish you. Choose self-trust over self-doubt. Choose inner peace over external validation. Because the people who truly see your worth won't need you to prove it to them. Final thought. Toxic people don't always yell. Sometimes, their actions whisper the truth. You don't need to argue, prove, or convince. You only need to decide, are they worth your energy? The most powerful move you can make. Walk away without looking back. Call to action. Have you ever noticed these signs in someone? Share your thoughts in the comments. If this video helped you, like and subscribe for more psychology-based insights.